We're at Mobile World Congress 2019 here in Barcelona, and I'm joined by Marie Hogan. Hi Marie, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Des, thank you.
Thank you so much for making time to catch up with me. Now, you're the head of Broadband and IoT at Product Area Networks at Ericsson, and that sounds like an amazing role. I'd like to get into that a little bit more, and particularly talk about what you're doing with Ericsson's Cellular IoT. But just for folk who are not here, maybe just give us a quick summary of what's on show this year at Mobile World Congress 2019 in Barcelona, and particularly in your space around the IoT world.
Yeah, for sure. So there are many exciting things on show here in Barcelona. Of course, we have everything from our core networks division to management division to the networks division where I work, and then our new industries division, which of course is closely connected to IoT. We have gigabit LTE, we have LTE and 5G interaction, we have a lot of demos on IoT in particular, of course, everything from smart factory to sort of broadband IoT connections to a boat, which you can drive live out here in the harbour in Barcelona. And in the narrowband IoT space, we have an innovative new feature showing 100-kilometre cells as opposed to the 40-kilometre cells we used to have before. So
that's going to make a lot of sense in Australia because we're the sixth largest piece of dirt on the planet, but only 25 million people, so it's really hard to stretch this technology.
And it's funny you should mention, because that's exactly where we trialled it. So it's rolling out in 30% of the network there already, actually, with Telstra.
Fantastic.
So far. So,
can't wait to see more about that.
Yeah.
Now, I would love you to tell us more about Ericsson's cellular IoT offering. I mean, it's a very broad portfolio of things around the IoT space, but particularly cellular IoT. What can you tell us about what the cellular IoT offering encompasses?
So at Ericsson, when we talk about cellular IoT, we define it as low power wide area technology initially, with our first offering is massive IoT.
Okay.
And it's specified by 3GPP, which we believe strongly in as a global standard, so we get economies of scale and global rollout.
Yep.
So we start with basic use cases for massive IoT. Basic use cases for massive IoT. Simple use cases like devices for smart metering or tracking or logistics. So they don't require so much data, not so much demands on the network, but there are many of them connected. And then what we have done recently in the end of January is had a new launch on the evolution of cellular IoT for industry digitalization. A bit of a mouthful.
That is a mouthful.
What we want to do in one sentence basically was answer the question, what's next for cellular IoT? What happens after massive IoT, which is the technology rolling out today in the 4G networks.
Now, I remember you were talking recently at another event around sort of 5 key tenets. So you've talked about the whole massive IoT piece. I mean, there are a number of key vertical sectors that IoT touches immediately, and I know you've had some really successful rollouts of some of those. I would love you to just share some insights around some of the use cases you've already rolled out around this space.
Yeah, so in the massive IoT space in particular, we have rolled out or at least we have enabled our customers to roll out. I think we provide the technology and the connectivity and in some cases IoT platforms from the core network side. So we've rolled out use cases for smart metering or enabling smart cities, so you can have meters in or sensors in parking meters, for example. There's a lot of environmentally related use cases, so remote deployments of sensors that would maybe monitor the air temperature or quality.
So environmental data.
Exactly. Water quality perhaps, or even sensors in the soil of, for example, a vineyard to monitor the condition of the soil. So they're quite environmentally beneficial, if you like. We see a lot of tracking for assets, even you could call it smart bicycles, but to track where the bicycles are in a rental company. And trackers for maybe small kids or pets, if you want to know where they are.
Wow, I wouldn't mind doing that. My teenagers may not like me saying that though.
Possibly not applicable for all for all kids, but so we see a lot of uptake, and I think the interesting thing is that there are so many use cases, and then they're addressing so many different verticals. So we talk about utilities type of use cases, or we can talk about manufacturing, getting to the smart factory type of setting, automotive, sensors in cars getting more and more complex, and we can talk about intelligent transport systems,
Yep.
which you could, say is leading to smart city traffic management.
Yep.
that
And all
type of
those
thing.
autonomous things.
Exactly.
And I mean,
yeah.
the thing for me with IoT is that it almost seems to me that if you can imagine a use case in a scenario, you can put sensors in there and you can start to capture some data, it doesn't have to be everything, and start to build layer on layer. I remember when Boeing rolled out the 787 Dreamliner, I think they had about 6,000 sensors in each
Yeah.
wing. And initially we thought, well, that seems a little bit too much, but it turns out the wing can bend by about 25 degrees, so you want to know how things are evolving. Now, as you said, we're talking about resilient infrastructure, smart cities, autonomous things, hospitals. Hospitals are one of my favorite because we've got lots of things that go beep, but they haven't been connected before. Now we can connect them, we can get data-driven insights into health and all those things that affect
Absolutely.
us. So beyond this event, I mean, there's a lot of exciting things you've talked about that are on the floor here for people to see, some of the demos and some of the stuff you're doing with your part of the organization. Where do we go next? What are the next big things that we should be thinking about? Because I think there are a lot of telcos that are on different parts of the maturity curve. They're either older telcos that got lots of big sunk infrastructure trying to get an ROI in that. You've got new disruptors who are coming through that are not traditional telcos. Where do you see this going beyond Mobile World Congress? What are the big moving parts we should think about?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, and that's what we've tried to focus on now starting this year. We've been building the basics with massive IoT on the 4G networks and making sure that's easy to deploy in our systems, because you could just use a software upgrade with our existing hardware, for example. But now we wanted to answer the question, what's next? So we've defined 3 additional segments.
Okay.
So broadband IoT, which is maybe more data applicable and lower latency, together with some other features on top of massive IoT.
Right.
So it broadens the use case portfolio. For example, drones management you could have for maintenance with high resolution videos from remote sites. We have added another new section, critical IoT, which there we really start to talk about 5G networks.
Yes.
So here we talk about ultra reliability and ultra low latency, maybe both together, and a variety of data rates. And then you can start talking about platooning or autonomous driving, or maybe the start of remote surgery with haptic feedback. Not sure if I'm ready for that myself yet, but
no, but then some of the data shows that the machines are better at these things than us. I know, large container ships, modern airplanes. Certainly in Australia, we've had Rio Tinto driving autonomous trains. So I think we're getting there, and maybe our generation won't, but our kids' generation won't. So you've got massive, you've got broadband, you've got some of the critical components.
And then one final one is the industrial automation IoT,
right, well,
which
that's
is
a
in
nice
this segment.
fit.
Yeah, so for that segment then, I mean, that's really under definition in 3GPP, so we have a good idea of what it will entail, but it's quite tailored to, manufacturing and the sort of industrial campuses. So the idea is you would have technology like time-sensitive networking, including Ethernet-based industrial protocols. And the goal there really is, once it's defined, and we're defining it together with the big industry players to make sure we get the right technology there. The idea is the ultimate goal will be to take the wires out of the factories. Factories today have so many different systems, some are wired, some are wireless. But what we would like to see as the ultimate vision is one 5G network capable of supporting the basic use cases from massive all the way up to broadband, critical, and industrial automation, and then you have that wireless factory.
Perfect.
Not tomorrow, but
I know that recently talking to some specialists in hospitals, for example, hospitals have this very problem that lots of different providers of services or infrastructure or whatever it might be, or software, have their own different routers, switches, servers, and they manage that from an SLA point of view because they haven't been able to trust the network. It seems to me that what you're doing now with Ericsson, from the foundational component of the operational support systems through the business support systems and all the intelligence between, now that you're rolling out the cellular IoT capability across all of that, some of these environments like aviation, transport, hospitals, etc., can start to remove some of that proprietary component and put in standards based networks, right? Standard infrastructure. That will dramatically reduce the cost to run it, I imagine, from implementing and operationally and supporting it, but also the time to market, which I think is one of the things we're all looking for. Shorter time to market, shorter time to ROI.
Exactly.
Well, exciting future there for you. I can't wait to see where it's going.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge is to make some of these industries are maybe slower to move, obviously.
Right.
You have everything set up and maybe it's not perfect, but it's, you know, where you are.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we like to do in Ericsson is, you know, put our money where our mouth is. So we test our own systems in our own factories where we produce Ericsson products, and we trial things ourselves, and then we can bring our customers or their customers
right.
in to check it out, see how it works. We partner with it's probably over 40 institutes, you know,
wow.
big universities, Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, for example, or
fantastic.
KTH, or in Sweden, King's College,
yep.
London. And we tried things out, everything from robotics. There's a great demo over there, and six-legged robot.
I saw that.
Yeah,
I can't wait to go and play with that.
You should check that. And there's a lot of AR, VR, immersive demos here as well. So we try a lot of different things, make sure it works. And then I think it's that really what brings the reality to maybe consumers or industries that we wouldn't normally have connected with before. Our business used to be mobile broadband, and it's still our business, but now we are evolving beyond that. So, and then we need to learn ourselves as well.
It is a trend I've seen across all of Ericsson, but particularly your part of the business, where, as you said, you know, you've got a core competency that's your strength, but that whole early adopter space of getting into the conversation early. So the consulting services, the professional services, business space, all the way through to the support and maintenance that you're famous for. I think the thing that I'm gaining from most of the conversations with folk like yourself in Ericsson is that organizations should come to you earlier than later. They should start to include you in that conversation from this is an idea we have, this is what we want to do, and what are the pitfalls we can avoid because you've done it before, or who are some of the industry players, such as the colleges you mentioned before, who have helped you form some of that. And I think this is going to be a major game changer because, again, it goes back to reducing risk, reducing costs, reducing time, and also, I guess, learning from those who've already done it.
Exactly, and I think the one thing about you know, Cellular IoT or Cellular IoT partnered with mobile broadband, so based on 3GPP and these global standards, is you have a really big ecosystem and a global base, so you can get economies of scale.
Right.
Also, those particular technologies are secure. Actually, it's a kind of one of the foundations of building these 3GPP technologies. We include security in the thinking, and we have encryption, and you know, those type of support systems, because obviously security is, you know, something
it's got to be paramount, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the technology itself, of course, everything's getting faster with lower latency, and we know very well in Ericsson, I think, how to build that into a single network, or to have a non-public network or private LTE, so you can separate parts of the network to deliver certain characteristics, if you like, for specific types of use cases. Drones might demand this type of, you know, setup. Maybe a factory requires something else. So it's all about segmentation and deploying flexible deployments, I guess.
Well, I guess it's in the DNA of what you do as an organization as Ericsson, but also some of the things that 5G makes possible, like network slicing and software-defined infrastructure, software-defined networks, and particularly with your dynamic orchestration platform and some of the new 5G platform that's come out. Well, it's a perfect time for you to be hitting the markets. One of the things I love about Ericsson is that you lead from the front. And I also love the fact that you become your own first customer. So you know, from what I understand, you're already rolling this out in some of your own infrastructure. You're using your own sensors, your own data. You test it, you try it. As you said, work with some of the bigger industry players. And when you go to the market, you have yourself and some of these industry players as examples and use cases where you've done it. So there is no risk, there's no sort of trial. It's like we've already done this. We've written the book about it, and here's some examples we've done before.
Yeah, I mean, we learn and we try things out, and we learn some more, and we adapt. And, and I mean, we have a great research culture in Ericsson, very big. Talented group of researchers, so they come up with new ideas all the time, and you know, we're very involved in the sort of standardization of these parts. So we try to think things through, and then, you know, partner up with the end users, if you like, to make sure we do the right things, but also at the right time, actually. So.
Fantastic. Well, it all sounds amazing, and I cannot wait to get my hands on some of it, particularly that monster robot that looks like a big spider out of a movie. But look, thank you so much for making so much time available to catch up with me. It's been great to chat with you and catch up with you and hear a lot about the cellular IoT offering you've got, and also what's happening here at Mobile World Congress. And we look forward to what's going to happen beyond the event and some of the big trends you're driving.
Absolutely. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Cheers.